Thank you for tuning in and welcome back. Have you ever wondered why some sellers will put their home on the market as is, like ASIS, as in as is? Does that mean that they're not going to do any repairs? Does that mean that there's something really wrong with that house? Well, we'll explore that and much more in today's episode with 7 points to consider with buying a house as is. My name is Andrew Finney, your real estate geek. If you need help finding a top agent where you live, or if you simply want to drop me a line to say hello, my contact info is below. If you haven't already done so, please go ahead and subscribe to this channel now and like this video. For reference, I upload 6 days a week, so be sure to tap the bell icon and get notified of the very next one. Thank you. Okay, team, let's take a closer look at this. You know, there's traditional sales, there's buying new homes, there's short sales, foreclosures, fix and flip. My goodness, right? There's all kinds of different things out there. So when you come across a listing that it seems like you really want, and the seller says they're going to sell it as is, what the heck is that? And what does it mean, right? So let's start talking about it. Whenever we see homes for sale as is, most commonly what it means is that the seller might not want to do repairs, or the seller might know something is really wrong with that house. So the next 7 points that we're going to be talking about in today's episode will be things that you want to consider and things that you want to check off your list as you're exploring the possibility of buying a house as is. Number one, is disclosure required? Well, yes, in many states it is, and it's called a seller's real property disclosure. Now, if it's a fix and flip type property, keep in mind the investor who purchased that property may not have full knowledge of what was going on with that property prior to the time that they bought it. And even when they were renovating the property, they may or may not have come across some kind of issues. But generally, what we want to look for here is anything that's marked in the seller's real property disclosure about what might be going on with that property. Was there a damaged roof? Is the roof damaged currently? Are there structural damage, electrical damage, plumbing damage? We want to explore that, because buying an as-is house means that the seller is not intending to do any repairs, and it may or may not qualify for your financials. So now we're going to point two. Can you get an inspection done? Oh God, yes. And you most definitely want to get a home inspection done. Even if the seller tries to tell you, hey, you know what, I'm not going to allow a home inspection on this property. If any seller ever tells you they're not going to allow a home inspection on the property and you're the buyer, I would probably just advise you to walk away from that property. That's not cool. You want to know what you're getting yourself into whenever you get ready to put up that kind of money to buy your home. Buying a home is many of our largest investment we will ever make over the course of our life. Let's do it right, and let's make sure we get that home inspection done. It's far better to know exactly what we're looking at whenever you get ready to purchase a home. Is it going to be, and maybe the seller's just saying as is because, again, maybe they're just not in the mood to do repairs, or maybe they don't have the spare cash to do the repairs. Maybe they would if they could, but they can't, right? But any way around it, you should have a home inspection. And if the seller tells you no, then tell them thank you for your time, goodbye. The third thing is, has anyone really ever asked why the home is being sold as is? It goes back into experience with working with different people. You know, here's the thing. It seems like really there's a couple of different type of people that sell their home as is. Number one would be that person that doesn't have any spare cash. Number two would be like the person that really doesn't want to make any repairs because they're afraid a buyer's going to ask them for like a lot of cosmetic stuff. Maybe stucco or brick needs to be replaced or needs to be touched up, and they just don't want to do the cosmetic stuff, but they're willing to do some of the bigger stuff if it arises, right? And then there's the person, so it's actually three people right here. And the third type of person is actually the one that knows there's something wrong with their house or suspects something is wrong with the house, and they just don't want to deal with it, period, right? So it's something to think about whenever you're considering these as-is sales. There's pretty much three different thought processes that I've seen in practice, okay? The fourth point is, how is it going to impact your home loan? Now, that's a really important question, because if you're looking at like a federally insured loan such as an FHA loan, a VA loan, or a USDA loan, the lenders actually have certain lending guidelines for that house to meet health and safety conditions. In other words, depending on the state that you're in, you might have to have a functioning HVAC system or a functioning furnace. You might need to actually have a roof over your head. Go figure that one would be important, right? Or working electricity and working plumbing. Again, go figure, these things would kind of be important if you're getting ready to buy a home with a federally insured loan to make sure that you can actually move into that home and live in that home without having any difficulty of actually getting into the house. Now, that doesn't mean and that doesn't exclude all as-is sales. Going back to that seller that might not have the spare cash to make the repairs, or going back to that seller who's actually afraid of being asked for a whole bunch of cosmetic stuff, goes back to the third point and simply asking, why is the home being sold as is? If you like that house, you need to talk to your trusted real estate advisor. Your trusted real estate advisor needs to pick up that phone, call the other agent. Hey, I see your property over on 123 Main Street. It looks like the seller's selling it as is. What can you tell me about that? Why has the seller decided to sell it as is? And then the agent stops talking and lets the other agent share the information. Once that information is shared with your trusted real estate advisor, then they can get back to you with what was said, and then you'll know what kind of mindset that seller is in as far as the as-is thing is concerned, okay? So then the fifth point is needed repairs and restorations. Well, there's a couple of different scenarios to take a look up here. And this is going to tie back into the thought process of the three mindsets of people that normally put their home as is. Again, those 3 points are the seller who doesn't want to make needless repairs, like cosmetic stuff, right? There's a second one is the one that just doesn't have the cash. And the third one is the one that suspects that something's wrong or knows something is wrong and just doesn't want to get into it. So when we look at the ones that need repair versus restoration, whatever, there's two different kinds here. Number one is normally like the really messed up house. I mean, the one that does have like the roof falling in or a hole in the wall, plumbing and electrical that's not working. That's the completely messed up house, right? Now, the messed up house, if it's truly that bad and major systems are out or there's issues, structural damage, roof damage issues going on with that property, then that's generally going to be a cash buyer's game because it's not going to qualify for a lot of financing types that are available. Now, you would want to talk with your local loan officer just to verify that. Make sure, you know, there's things called 203K loans that are essentially like rehab loans. Sometimes they're more drama than what they're worth, to be honest with you. At the same time, it's an option, and it might be one that you want to explore with your loan officer and your trusted real estate advisor, depending on how severe the damage is to the home. Because you also have to question yourself and ask yourself, do you, number one, have the time to do it? Number two, do you have the desire to do it? Number three, do you have the money to actually make the repairs if you bought that home, especially if there's big stuff going out like the roof and stuff, you know, depending on what kind of roof's out there, whether it's tile, whether it's shingle, what have you, it can be pretty pricey to replace a roof. So you want to be prepared for that. And then you start talking about plumbing, electrical issues, well, not so cool. So then the second type is when you're talking about more of repairs, the no bullcrap seller, right? The no BS seller here. This is a seller who doesn't want to play around with cosmetics because, you know, people say, oh, the paint needs to be touched up. Oh, you know, there's stucco that needs some stucco patch. You know, that grass blade over there was 4 inches and I really wanted my grass 3 inches and 3 3/4 inches, right? Well, the seller doesn't care about that. What they care about is the condition of the home and you buying the home, and they're not interested in the honey-do list or your preferences list in as much as they're interested in making the repairs that would be pursuant to your lending guidelines. Now, let's use an example of something I see here in Las Vegas, Nevada all the time. A water heater of all things, right? It's one of the things that is a cornerstone in every American household to heat up the water so we can enjoy a nice warm shower or bath, right? Well, here in Las Vegas, Nevada, even though we're not exactly earthquake prone, but because we're in some kind of zone that lenders deem it necessary that we have to have what's called earthquake straps or seismic straps, if you will, around the water heater. It's a very common thing that sellers have to put on pursuant to lending programs. Now, they always are playing with these water heaters. Now there's things called a gas drip leg and TPR valve. With TPR valves, a temperature relief valve has to be going down and out of the house at a certain angle. Water heater drip pans. I mean, there's 4 things right there. Depending on the age of the home and depending on the last time that water heater was installed, it may or may not be called into question by both the home inspector and the home appraisal. If it is, it's something a seller is going to have to fix if they want to move forward with selling the home to you, okay? Something to think about. So that's like a no BS seller. They'd say, okay, I'll take care of this stuff I got to take care of, right? Now, let's say there's something wrong with the HVAC. In most cases, from experience, the no BS seller is still going to say, you know what, didn't know there's something wrong with it. My apologies. I'll go ahead and get someone out and get it fixed. That's typically what you're looking at with the no BS seller. It's not that they're not willing to make repairs. They just don't want to be nickeled and dimed. Something to think about whenever you negotiate the repairs on your new home. So the 6th point in today's video is, as is doesn't always mean as is. And that's kind of what we were just talking about. Appraisal conditions and loan guidelines make sure that there's things that the lenders have to get done that the appraisal is going to see when they go out there. And if those things aren't done pursuant to the lending guidelines, they have to be done for that seller to sell that house to you. So there's all these protective measures in for you as a buyer. But the most important one is point 7 here, which is due diligence with professional representation is always the key to success when buying an as-is sell. Working with a trusted real estate advisor that's going to ask those questions of the seller, working with a great loan officer that knows what they're doing and how to best assist you with your goals as far as what you're looking for, and working with a solid home inspector that's going to take care of you and performing an excellent deep and thorough review of that home's condition and sharing that report with you. Those are 3 primary people that you want on your side when you're looking at buying a house as is. Now, maybe an as-is house is right for you. As long as it's not one of those complete restorations like we talked about in point 5, the messed up house, right? As long as it's not one like that, then you stand a pretty good chance. If it's maybe just the no BS seller, or maybe the seller that just doesn't have money, perhaps you stand a good chance, and maybe it is the right home for you, and maybe all it needs is just a few little things so that you can turn that house into your new home. Now, tell us what you're thinking about this video in the comment section below. What was the most impactful point for you from this episode, and what are you going to use going forward? What I also like you to do is, if you have experience buying a home as is, share your experiences with us and how it worked out for you in the comment section below. Thank you so much. Now I'm going to go ahead and pop up my contact information. If you want to drop me a line to say hello, or if you simply need help finding a top agent where you live, please let me know. I always love to hear from you, and always love to help you out. In between now and next time, I'm wishing you and yours a lifetime full of love, wealth, abundance, and happiness. Thank you for watching today, team, and enjoy an amazing day.